everyone, welcome to this episode.
As you know, my work talks about randomness and non-control and the embracing of the accident. So I like also these kind of non-controllable things that they change from place to place or from material to material. And that's one of the reasons that I work with sawdust, is that it's very unpredictable.
Talking for people who don't know maybe your work yet so much, what kind of materials do you use?
I use sawdust, raw pigment, and glue and latex. So what I do is I do this kind of mixture of all of them because I like the color to be from the inside, not just on the top. And then I do different densities of mixtures. Then I begin to add it with my hands, sometimes scratching the painting or sometimes dropping. It's a very physical work. I mean, I'm very interested always in the process. For me, the process is very, very important, much more than the outcome. So the paintings are about the process, about the one single happening, and then I go out from the painting and the painting follows its own path. So even for me, if I want to, I mean, if in the show, for example, that painting is sold, and I say, well, I would like to have one like that. Mm-hmm. For me, it's completely impossible to make it again, even similar. You know, it can be the mostly similar or almost the same color, but never the same one.
I hear that while you are traveling, you are trying to bring different pigments.
See, every time I travel, I try to go to the markets or pigment stores or factories, and if I find a pigment that is interesting for me, I always buy it in big quantities because I use very big quantities of pigment. But I'm always open to.
Always taking like a huge suitcase that completely empty.
Sometimes 6 bags or 6 suitcases. So when I went to Morocco, when I used to go to Morocco, I used to come back with 6 duffel bags full of pigment.
And how did you start the style itself? Because it's very, very unique. I mean, it's not many of this kind of 3-dimension, almost sculpture paintings. How did you get the idea?
I was always very interested in texture, but also in color. And always, if you read mainly the philosophy of the artists that use color, as Rothko or de Kooning, or they talk about the power of color by itself, no? But in the case of the texture of the material painters like Tàpies or Dubuffet, they talk about the energy of the material work. So, but I always love the two concepts. I say, well, I have to find a way to try to mix it and explode the two forces that each one has. So I began to experiment since I was very young, and then one accident to another took me to this way of painting.
You've been here entire week and you were working on many paintings
that
you can see here. So if you can tell us a bit more about your residency program.
As my work depends so much in organic components and chance and non-control, whenever you go and do paintings in a different place, the outcome is completely different always. Maybe because the sawdust and the humidity and the way the studio is located, if it has a lot of air or it's more compact. So for me, it's always very interesting to do site-specific work. So I decided to come. And as I knew that I had a very short period of time, I bring with me Manuel, he always helped me in the big projects. So he stretched. I mean, I like always to do everything myself. Mm-hmm. I mean, painting, I never let anybody touch the painting. But at least he came and he stretched. And so when I arrived, everything was ready just to go directly to work. Yes. And when I was talking to Boris about the project, I told him that I would love to do turquoise, blue turquoise. That was a color that I have always wanted to work with, but I have never, for different circumstances, had a chance to use it. And we agreed that we will do a show like that. It's a color that reminds me of my childhood, and it's like the Mexican Caribbean and the cenotes. So what I did in this studio and in this series is I revisit all my old series. So it was much more focused about the color than about the series. I mean, so you can see works like they can be similar to 5 or 6 years ago, through 3 years or 1 year ago. So I revisit all my old series and I say, okay, as I always wanted to work with this color, I'm going to work the whole spectrum of series that I have done up to now.
Wow. So we can actually see all your, like how your style evolved
Exactly.
in the last 3 years.
So
But
like
in a new
exactly.
color.
It was like going back to the old times, and I wanted to revisit all the work in these shades of colors.
You are working extremely fast, I have to say. So it's been.
But it depends, because sometimes, I mean, we were talking about that, Manuel and me. Sometimes that we have done other projects, sometimes it doesn't come in a good way at the beginning. So you have to destroy, and there have been times that we have stayed 1 month or 1 month and a half. But here everything went very easy. Like everything was.
Great.
And I mean, I like the results of the first painting and then the second painting too. So we didn't destroy any. I mean, we destroyed some carton board works that we did, but that was all.
How do you find working with such a big artworks? Like, is it?
Well, I have always liked to do works that are bigger than the size of a human being. You know, like the scale. When the scale is bigger than you, it becomes much more like a scenery or not just a painting, no? And as my paintings, I always want them to be very to look like an object. So I wanted to do it as big as possible, always, no? Even for me, it's more difficult to do the small ones than the bigger ones. It takes me much more time, and it takes me much more concentration. It gets more and more complicated for me. So I have never had a predetermined idea. I mean, here I came, I knew the sizes of the stretchers, of course, but I didn't know how I was going to do them exactly. I mean, I didn't have an idea of a composition or an inspirational thing. I came and just went into the work very physical. I still believe on the exchange of energy between the artist and the painting. For me, that's very important. I respect the other artists that they have a lot of assistants and their process is done by somebody else. But for me, I still believe in this kind of exchange of energy and how the canvas and the materials you're using grab something of you and you grab something from them, no?
Absolutely. And then, yeah, you can actually, I think you can see this great energy from your paintings.
That's nice.
What else would you like to say to your audience?
Well, but I mean, for the people of Hong Kong that they have never, some of them, they have never seen my work. It's interesting to see the work, because it's a work that doesn't try to be intellectual. It's a work that you have to, I finish it, and then the spectator has to read it, has to absorb it on his own way, with his own tools. So there is not any kind of instructions. There is not something that you feel foolish. You just see it like a sunset or of nature, and either you like it or don't like it, or you make your own conclusions. So that's the most important thing, is just to come and see it and enjoy it. And
what is your latest discovery, or something which you really, really like and you maybe planning to incorporate, or you?
Well, I find this the blackest black, more black than the one of Anish Kapoor. And one of my kids, as a birthday present a few weeks ago, he gave me 2 bottles of the blackest black, and I began to use it in 2 small paintings that I did just for me. But then I am having a show at the CAC Museum in Malaga, and I'm planning to do the blackest black paintings metallic black paintings, and that's my project. Well, let's see if sometimes you plan a project and it comes completely different than what you're planning. But I want to get this much more of this pigment and do a series of pigments for this museum show, and then maybe travel the museum show around the museums.
Beautiful! I can't wait to see that.
I can't wait to.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for coming to Hong Kong. It's
Thank
such
you
a pleasure to see you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, one more time me. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this kind of content, please don't hesitate to subscribe to this channel, like the video, comment it, and of course share it if you think your friends would like to hear about stories behind art. Thank you so much and have a great day.